Level 1. Departure. The step stretches out before you, an ocean of dry grass. Your boots crush the dry earth into yellow powder. The sun beats down on your steel helmet. You march with 100,000 others. The dust coats your throat, but you do not drink. Victory is a physical weight pushing you forward. You check the action of your rifle without looking down. The horizon vibrates in the late summer heat. A rusted Soviet tractor sits abandoned by the roadside. You do not look at the dead horses. The rumble of artillery is a low heartbeat in the distance. You adjust the heavy leather straps on your shoulders. The shadow of a stuka sweeps over the marching column. You watch the dark smoke rising in the east. It is the city. They say it bears his name. The wind shifts, bringing the scent of burning oil. You step over the deep tracks left by the panzers. The endless sky offers no shade. You wipe the sweat from your brow with a dusty sleeve. The command to halt echoes down the line. You stand perfectly still, staring at the black smudge on the horizon. A passing motorcycle kicks up a blinding cloud of dirt. You close your eyes until the dust settles. When you open them, the city seems closer. The artillery fire grows louder, sharper. You feel the vibration through the thick soles of your boots. The order to advance comes quietly. You step forward, joining the massive, undeniable tide. You are certain it will be over by winter. Level 2. The ruins. The soft earth gives way to shattered cobblestone. Giant skeletons of concrete and steel block out the sun. The air tastes of cordite and pulverized brick. You step around a massive crater. The silence is heavier than the shelling. You crush a shattered porcelain plate underfoot. A sharp crack splits the air overhead. You throw yourself against the nearest ruined wall. Your heart beats against the cold wood of your rifle. You carefully peek around the jagged corner. A Soviet T-34 burns silently in the intersection. You move inside a gutted factory building. Every shadow looks like a man with a weapon. You step over a fallen beam. Suddenly, a figure darts across the far end of the hall. You do not breathe. The wall beside you detonates. You are on the floor, ears ringing with a high, empty whine. A hand grabs your shoulder, pulling you to cover. You crawl over twisted iron rebar. Like a rat. Muzzle flashes spark from the ruined windows across the street. You fire blindly into the smoke. The deafening echo bounces off the concrete walls. You retreat into the dark well of a staircase. Empty brass casings roll under your boots. You catch your reflection in a shattered mirror. You wade in the dark. Heavy boots scrape against the floorboards right above your head. You realize there is no front line here. The city is a labyrinth, and it has swallowed you. Level 3. Rattenkrieg. You descend into the lightless cellars. The smell of damp earth and rotting iron is suffocating. You keep your back pressed flat against the damp bricks. Every doorway is a trap. You grip the wooden handle of a stick grenade. The pin scrapes loudly against the metal. You toss it blindly into the next room. The explosion shakes dust from the arched ceiling. You step through the smoke, bayonet fixed. There's a hole smashed through the floorboards. You stare down into the pitch black below. A voice whispers in a language you do not understand. You fire down into the dark. You unstrap your entrenching tool. The sharpened steel blade catches a sliver of light. Rifles are useless in these tight corridors. You climb over a pile of broken furniture. Someone has drawn an arrow on the wall in chalk. You do not know if it points to safety or death. The fighting is measured in rooms, not kilometers. A rat scurries over the toe of your boot. You do not flinch. You share a room with 3 silent comrades. Nobody sleeps. You hear them digging on the other side of the wall. The rhythmic thud of a pickaxe haunts your exhausted mind. You wipe the grease and soot from your rifle bolt. Sunlight is a memory you are beginning to forget. You wait by the barricaded window. In the rat war, there is no sky. Level 4. First snow. You emerge from the cellar into a changed world. A single white flake lands on your dark sleeve. The ruined city looks deceptively peaceful. You exhale and see your breath for the first time. A sudden chill bites through the thick leather of your boots. You pull the scarf tighter around your neck. The sky above is low, flat, and the color of iron. The falling snow absorbs the sounds of war. A distant shot echoes sharply in the crisp air. You shiver, struggling to keep your rifle steady. Frost begins to form on the cold steel of the barrel. You stomp your boots to force the blood back into your toes. A fallen soldier is slowly being buried by the drift. You realize the summer uniform is not enough. You wrap your frozen hands in dirty rags found in the rubble. The wind howls through the shattered windows like a wounded animal. You huddle around a tiny, smokeless fire built in an old helmet. The flames offer light, but no real heat. You stare out across the Volga River. Jagged plates of ice have begun to form on the dark water. The realization hits you like a physical blow. When the river freezes, the supplies will stop. You search a ruined apartment block for anything warm. You find a woman's knit shawl half buried under plaster. You stuff it under your greatcoat without shame. The falling snow turns gray with soot before it even lands. The mud on the trench parapet hardens into solid iron. You look up at the indifferent, freezing sky. Winter has arrived. It is a new, deadlier enemy. Level 5, Hell's Cauldron. You stare at the crumpled paper map on the table. The radio operator slowly takes off his headphones. There's only static from the west. You step outside into the biting wind. You look toward the horizon you came from. The flash of artillery now comes from behind you. The ring is closed. A destroyed supply truck sits half buried in a snowdrift. You do not bother to look inside it anymore. The wind erases your footprints in minutes. You are an island in an ocean of ice. You pull a frozen piece of black bread from your pocket. It feels as heavy and hard as a stone. You use the handle of your bayonet to shatter it into splinters. You suck on the frozen pieces until they soften. A flare arcs high into the night sky. The harsh white light paints the city like a graveyard. The shadows stretch long and thin like prison bars. When the flare burns out, the darkness is absolute. You scrape a thick layer of ice off your helmet rim. The cold is no longer a sensation, it is a presence. It sits beside you in the trench. You find an unsent letter in your inner pocket. The paper is brittle and feels like dead skin. You stare at the name on the envelope. You do not open it. The mail plane stopped coming a week ago. You slide the letter back into the dark near your heart. The silence of the step rings in your ears. The trap is shut. Level 6, Hunger. The ache in your stomach has become a solid, living thing. You boil snow in a blackened tin cup. The hot water tastes of ash and metallic dust. A comrade offers you a cigarette to kill the pangs. You refuse, preferring the pain over the dizziness. Your belt is pulled tight to the very last hole. You search the pockets of a fallen Soviet soldier. You find nothing but frozen dirt and spare ammunition. You chew on a piece of leather torn from a harness. It ruins your teeth and fills your mouth with the taste of old sweat. A rumor spreads about a dead horse in the next sector. You move through the ruins with a predator's focus. The snow is stained with dark, frozen patches of blood. You are not the first to arrive. A desperate crowd swarms the frozen carcass like starved wolves. You push your way through the gray-clad bodies. Your bayonet strikes the frozen meat like it is chopping wood. You manage to tear a small, dark red chunk free. You retreat to a dark corner, hiding your prize. There is no wood left to build a fire. You eat it raw, the frozen fibers tearing at your throat. It is metallic, stringy, and cold as ice. It does not satisfy the hunger, it only wakes it up. You scrape the bottom of an empty tin can with your knife. The screeching sound sets your teeth on edge. You catch a rat by the tail, but you let it go. You are too exhausted to clean it. The weakness spreads from your stomach to your limbs. You close your eyes, dreaming of hot soup and white bread. You wake up with snow in your mouth. Level 7, White Hell. The temperature drops to 30 below zero. Your breath instantly freezes on the edges of the dirty shawl. You cannot feel your toes anymore. The pain in your hands has been replaced by a heavy, dead numbness. You unwrap a rag to look at your fingers. The tips are a deep, bruised black. You wrap them back up, feeling nothing. The man sleeping next to you is covered in a pristine layer of white. You shake his shoulder. He is as solid as a marble statue. You do not mourn him. You take his remaining ammunition. You strip the gloves from his stiff, frozen hands. Survival has burned away everything else. The wind sweeps across the open squares, howling relentlessly. Visibility drops to 5 meters in the blinding whiteout. The metallic action of your rifle is frozen solid. You must urinate on the bolt just to thaw the mechanism. Yellow stains in the white snow are the only color left in the world. You march past a destroyed Panzer III. Its iron hull is coated in thick, jagged armor of ice. Figures appear in the white haze ahead. They wear white winter camouflage, vanishing into the storm. Tracers cut through the blizzard like lazy red fireflies. You drop into a snowdrift, feeling the impact but no pain. The snow embraces you, soft and deceivingly gentle. You fire toward the flashes, moving slowly, mechanically. The cold whispers to you, telling you to rest. Closing your eyes feels better than fighting. You force yourself to stand, a ghost wandering in a white hell. Level 8, the Airfield. The flat expanse of Potomnik Airfield stretches before you. Thousands of wounded men line the runway like discarded rags. A frozen windsock hangs stiffly from a pole. You stare up at the empty, mocking gray sky. A low, rhythmic hum vibrates through the frozen ground. The dark silhouette of a Junkers 52 breaks through the clouds. A collective gasp rises from the sea of dying men. You are shoved forward by a wave of frantic bodies. The plane's wheels touch the ice, kicking up a blinding snowstorm. The corrugated metal cargo doors slide open. Wooden crates are kicked out into the snow before the engines even idle. A crate shatters against the frozen runway. It is not food, it is thousands of iron cross metals. You stare at a silver cross resting in the dirty ice. The wounded begin to crawl toward the plane's door like insects. Military police with submachine guns block the ramp. Only officers and the severely mutilated are allowed aboard. A man with a bandaged face clings desperately to the landing gear strut. You do not join the mob. You already know it is useless. The engines roar, throwing a violent wash of icy air over the crowd. The plane begins to roll, dragging men through the snow. The man on the landing gear loses his grip and falls beneath the wheel. The aircraft lifts off, vanishing instantly into the low clouds. The silence that follows is heavier than before. A frozen corpse lies near you, still clutching a useless boarding pass. You turn your gaze back toward the ruined city. The perimeter is shrinking every hour. Suddenly, a shrieking whistle tears through the sky. Massive eruptions of dirt and snow tear the runway to pieces. You realize no more planes are ever coming. Level 9. The Collapse. You retreat deeper into the dying city. You pull the last 5 rounds from your leather pouch. The bolt of your rifle is welded shut by the ice. You leave the weapon leaning against a shattered wall. The Soviet artillery no longer pauses. It is a rolling drumbeat of the end. The concrete ceiling of the bunker cracks deeply. Plaster dust falls like snow inside the dark room. A soldier beside you simply stops moving. You do not check for a pulse. The deep rumble of tank treads vibrates through the floor. They are right outside the walls. You hear the grinding crash of a T-34 crushing your barricade. Strange voices echo down the stairwell. You slide backward into the darkest corner. A beam of a flashlight sweeps across the dusty room. You see the shadow of a submachine gun cast against the wall. A short burst of fire echoes, and someone screams. The scent of strong, cheap tobacco drifts in. You do not reach for your knife. There's no honor left here, only exhaustion. A sudden explosion blows the wooden door inward. You are buried under a pile of fallen bricks. You do not try to push them off immediately. Harsh winter daylight pours through the blown open doorway. A tall silhouette blocks the light. The dark barrel of a weapon points down at you. You slowly push the bricks away and sit up. You raise your empty, rag-wrapped hands. The war is over for you. Level 10. Silence. You step out of the ruined bunker into the blinding daylight. A Soviet guard motions with the barrel of his submachine gun. You join a long line of gray, shuffling ghosts. Discarded rifles are piled into a massive mountain of rusted steel. Your leather ammunition pouches feel completely weightless. The city behind you is a silent, smoking graveyard. A strange, heavy quiet settles over the ruins. There is no more artillery, no more screaming, no more orders, only the rhythmic crunch of thousands of boots against the ice. The frozen wind sweeps relentlessly across the Volga. The column of prisoners stretches to the horizon like a dark, broken snake. Men fall out of line into the deep snow and do not get up. The guards do not shout, they simply keep walking. You step over the frozen body of a high-ranking officer. Rank and medals mean absolutely nothing in the white void. The extreme cold begins to numb the shame of defeat. You scoop a handful of dirty snow into your mouth just to feel something. The sky above is a vast, unfeeling dome of pale gray. The endless Russian steppe reclaims the invaders. A twisted, rusted signpost points to a home you will never see again. The sun appears briefly as a pale, weak, and distant disk. It casts impossibly long, distorted shadows across the frozen plains. You put one heavy black boot in front of the other. It is an involuntary reflex of a broken, dying machine. You stare blankly at the back of the man walking in front of you. Memories of a warm summer march fade into the swirling whiteout. The biting wind erases the footprints of the column instantly. The landscape will soon forget the names buried beneath the ice. You look forward into the endless, silent, white nothingness. There is nothing left but the snow.